You're listening to The People's Pitch, the official podcast of Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by FootballStadiumPrints.com. Let's start the show.
And as I talked about just a couple minutes ago, as Joe Watt stands over this one, he appears to be the one taking the penalty here. This is a huge confidence booster if you're Duluth.
Worst case scenario for City right here.
And it's stopped! Yes! And it's stopped!
Totally redeems himself.
Matt Elder redeeming himself. Oliver with the right foot. The shot of the goal!
Oliver!
And Justin Oliver will break the scoreless tie. And it is 1-0 Minneapolis City. Is Hutton now on the offense with the left foot. And it is now 2-0 Minneapolis City.
Good finish.
Nick Hutton taking his quick victory lap.
Hello again, friends. This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club. I am your host, John, fresh off butchering my solo booth performance for the City 2 match this past weekend. It's on the internet. You can hear it or don't hear it. But that will not be happening today as I am joined by my left-hand man, the Nate Morales. Nate, what a blessing to have matches to talk about finally.
Yes, I am celebrating, John. It has been it's been a great week, great weekend, great week anticipating another big weekend. It's just this is the summer. The summer is here. The masks are off. This is gonna be things are looking up, man. Everything's looking city from now on, and that's pretty cool. We've got so much city action to talk about today. Of course, the recaps of last weekend's matches, MC2 versus Inter Minneapolis, as well as Minneapolis City versus the Sioux Falls Thunder. And then we're going to preview the upcoming weekend's matches in Minneapolis City versus Dakota Fusion, as well as MC2 versus FC Minneapolis. A lot of Minneapolis going on in this tonight, but only half of it is good. So here we go. Why wait? Let's dive in.
Okay, so friends, we finally got the band back together last weekend at the Nelly. That's Edor Nelson Field at the home of Augsburg University. If you're not familiar, we call it the Nelly around here. It seemed like forever since we've played soccer. And for me, the 160 plus fans that paid to get in. 197. So, okay,
yep.
Good to confirm. It felt like 10,000 to me when I was there. Like,
I know.
Like, it was actual people together watching actual soccer again as Minneapolis City 2 made their debut match in the UPSL Midwest Conference West Division. That's a mouthful to say. Taking on fellow newcomer Inter Minneapolis FC. Why don't you dive in, Nate, as you're going to be leading this one?
You know what's funny is like how fast the adjustment has been, where I think just like 2 months ago, if I saw 200 people together, I would be like, no, what are you doing? Oh, you are awful.
Yeah.
And now it's like those days are so far behind already in my mind that like I expected to have so much anxiety around returning to crowds, and now I'm just like, bring it, breathe on me, I don't care.
Yeah, can you imagine like if it was like December and we just rolled in to like an indoor facility and there were 197 people there? I'd be like,
you'd be like, I gotta go. This is awful.
I'm like, I'm wearing a mask, but you're getting COVID and you're getting COVID and you're getting COVID. I guess we're basically just essentially, you know, in the wake of being the most vaccinated state. We're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
We're getting there, people. So let's play some fucking soccer.
I was gonna say the state fair is the motivator, but soccer is gonna be the real beneficiary for me this summer. So that's
100%,
awesome.
100%.
So starting lineup for MC2, and this is something we talked about last week as a possibility. We have Mitch Wolf in net, and of course he stayed behind, did not travel to Sioux Falls, and decided to instead get some minutes in on the UPSL side. Axos Jim Duggan. It's actually Connor Axos, right?
It's actually Axos. It's a long O. I asked him about it because I butchered it the whole time. Yeah, so Axos Jim Duggan.
I like Axos better. All right. Will Orser, Ethan Anderson, and the guy that I keep it's like shades of Kevin Hoof. His last name is Hoft. And I'm like,
Yeah,
it's so
you got Hoft.
you got Hoft. It's like so close. But it's Josh Hoft.
He was the captain on the day.
We're on defense. He was. He played well. Of course, we had Samo Ruiz Plaza, another Minneapolis City NPSL player who opted to stay behind. Jacob Popkin in the midfield, along with Abdi Kadi. And then on the wing, we had Abai Habat, we had Zach Susi, and up top, Josue Batuli. That was like I had tweeted out in the game day, like a nice mix of experienced Minneapolis City players, some vets like Samo, and some newcomers. We had the sprinkling of the futures even in the starters with Popkin and Susi. And then on the bench, Ben Schliemann, Mutu, Scotty Heinen, Esteban Badillo, Jesse Juarez, Cole Schwartz, and Logan McGee. And we had talked about this with Prunty. We had talked about this just between you and me, that this really would be the big job of the day, is how do you get guys that play across 3 different Minneapolis City generations, we'll call them, to play together in one unit. And it was, I guess, the first test of the season for Prunty and company. And from the outset, I would say it was clear that it was going to be a physical game.
Lots of fouls.
Inter Minneapolis definitely bigger in the midfield than Minneapolis City. City drew a lot of fouls and even a yellow card in dangerous areas twice in the first 15 minutes. Like, that was a pretty big deal.
You mean the phantom red card?
that was funny. The guy reached into the wrong pocket, pulled out the red accidentally, and everyone started freaking out.
He did it twice. Not once, but twice.
He's just a little antsy. Dude, return to soccer is different for everyone.
All right, I hope he's listening. We're going to break it down for him here. Cheddar in the top pocket, red card in the back pocket.
And he just said his cards.
So what every ref does. Come on.
I would say, John, we should have had a goal in the 9th minute too. Like, we should have had a real early goal. Nice cross into Josue, but his wide open header, he got way higher than anyone else. And it just soared between the uprights. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. And of course, as tends to happen with a slow City start, Inter strikes first in the 15th minute. The physical game really did have MC2 chasing a little, and I'll say repeatedly, like, just when we had possession, momentum building up the field, Inter would pounce and really boss our smaller guys off of the ball in the midfield, which left defenders open on the counter, because the defenders are moving up to support and to maintain that higher line, and they got turned quite a few times. And one of those counters found Michael Levine one-on-one against Mitch, and we were down 0-1 15 minutes in. I don't know, John, this was, to me, it wasn't that big of a sinking feeling, just knowing how many chances we had already had, and that there's already, one of their guys was already on a yellow, that like this game really didn't feel decided yet, but it was a little disheartening to see Inter score so decisively so early.
Right, especially because like the style of play that Coach Van Benschoten wants for the program that is trickling down into City 2 and into the futures in the 11-a-side that they've been playing in. They just came off a big 3-2 win over Minnesota United's development, or MLS Next Academy, whatever the hell you want to call it. But it's a very possession-focused style of play, keeping the ball, being patient, and you saw City trying to do that, and they were successful at it. They couldn't break through with that final pass. Right. And you're right. The bigger, more physical Inter Minneapolis team ended up on that goal specifically. It was a series of like 5-6 passes, and then the ball went into Abdi Kadi with not knowing what's behind him. Didn't even get a touch on it. I thought he got fouled. But I think it was Abdi Ishmael, the captain of Inter Minneapolis, stripped the ball off him, and then the center backs were so wide from keeping possession that they weren't able to recover, and Levine was in 1v1, and yep. I mean, outside of that, the up until that point, it was Minneapolis City combines on 5-6 passes, doesn't complete the final pass. Inter Minneapolis had a very fast back line that was very physical, and I thought they did a great job. They would intercept and go long to Levine. And it never went through the midfield until like late into the second half. but in the first half, it was like one pass long to Levine, two passes long to Levine, and you saw that's how the goal was scored. It was just getting the ball and going direct with it.
Long through ball, exactly. But MC2 struck back 20 minutes later, after I would say at least three more set pieces off of fouls in dangerous areas, and a great individual effort from Zach Susie, who tested the keeper from short range in a weird angle. There was a strange high kick call in the box.
Yeah,
I think that meant an indirect free kick from inside the penalty area. I've never seen that in adult soccer, John.
Sorry, you caught me taking a sip of my drink there. No, I even say it on the broadcast. I was like, not one single player threw their hands up and screamed to high heavens that that was an infringement. Everyone was just kind of playing, and the referee called it. And then you get the set piece where it's like it's too close in to take anything direct at goal. So I don't know who had the time to draw up that play, but essentially they just tucked Susie and Will Orser to the back post, and everyone lost sight of those guys. And the ball goes into Susie. Will Orser peels off. He flips a 4-yard pass into Will Orser, and game's tied.
Yeah, which was great to see. And Susie, big call up, making another big play. Right, this kid scores goals. He assists, and he can make some guys look bad in one-on-one situations. So that was
Susie
kind of fun.
Lucy, baby.
He is Lucy in MC2C. All right, in the second half. Second half, John, Coach Prunty made an adjustment to address that size issue. Cole Schwartz comes in for Abdi, and I think that meant Josue dropped a little deeper into midfield. So our front three were Abai, Cole, and Zach, and then
actually he moved Abai to the 10 and Josue out wide.
Okay, and I thought that was interesting. And then soon after that, Scott Heinen replaced Josue. So I think that was the move, right? Scott Heinen was very impressive in his time.
Lively.
Really fast, really lively, looking really dangerous in the box, whether he was trying to shoot or able to lay off and find someone that was in a nice position. And that is how we got our second goal. I think Cole, Heinen, and Susie across the front. Suddenly City had offensive life. We had creativity in the end. Heinen finds Cole. Cole finds his way past the keeper to give City a really brief lead before Levine snatches the point back and ties it up almost immediately. And that's it. Game ends 2-2. I would see a good first competitive test for MC2 that really, I think, should give the players and Coach Prunty a good idea of the kind of league we're in. I'm reminded of so many years ago when we were watching Minneapolis City in the early PLA days. Like, just a team of young talent really trying to get a feel for what the league holds, right? Like what kind of play dominates this division, the Midwest West or whatever it's called. What kind of players are on these teams locally, and kind of where our guys fall into that mix is going to be one of the interesting narratives of this UPSL season.
Yeah, I would say decent start, a bevy of chances that were not converted, and it feels kind of like a letdown to only get 1 point. But they didn't drop all three, so that's good. That's a good first start. Got some points, like you said. Felt out the league. It's pretty much going to be very direct, very physical, and I think that's going to help these younger players, prepare them for whatever they're doing after they're with us. So I think they're with making the sign of the cross here, as long as everyone stays healthy, the players really will benefit from it, especially when you get guys like Popkin and Susie up there. Like they're younger kids, and this is their test of playing against grown men versus playing against kids or players their own age. I thought inner striker Michael Levine, I accidentally slipped up and called him Zach Levine a couple times on the broadcast. So apologies to you, Michael. I thought he had a big day, a lot of work to do for him, as the game plan, like I mentioned, looked like direct up top, pumping into him, oftentimes solo to create as many chances as possible. And in 90 minutes, he delivered, nearly missing the hat trick, but went home with 2 goals. And that backbreaker to draw the game level again immediately after City scored that one's a tough one to swallow.
Yeah.
But it was an unmarked. He was unmarked on a cross, and that's on the City defense to clean that up. Rounding out the roster with full-time rostered players is going to, I think, really help include some depth at some positions that Prunty can use, where the team on Saturday needed to go down into the futures and provide, some help. And I really do think that a week of training will do this team really good. And Coach Prunty will no doubt close some of those gaps with the players that I know have come in since the college season has ended. So I really do think that you're going to see a little bit of a different look in game 2 versus FC Minneapolis, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But first impressions, happy. It's not ecstatic, but happy. Points were gathered. No one was injured. We know what to expect. I believe that Inter Minneapolis is going to be one of the tougher teams in the conference. So we'll see.
We will see. So Last week we went over some keys to victory. Let's see how we did. Let's line it up.
So first one was tampering the nerves. I thought we'll give that one a B-. I think that you could tell the team was a little bit nervous. First time back playing soccer again in front of fans. It's just a different atmosphere, and like we said, 190 whatever felt like 10,000. So they must have been a little bit juiced up, and you can kind of tell in the lead up as guys were lining up in the tunnel, just a lot of wide eyes, I guess you could say. But I thought they did good. We'll give that one a B-. Living up to expectation, they thought we fell down there. The expectation for putting on the City jersey is that 3 points come home or stay home. We didn't get that. But then again, they put up a fight. And, we'll call it shorthanded because the college guys aren't back. And I don't think Inter has many college players. So, the opportunity for them to live up to expectation was there. And I think all the chances that were missed, the 2 free headers that Josue had have to go in. At least one of them. You got to have a 50% ratio on that, especially when you're unmarked. I thought Cole Schwartz had a couple chances too. He could have buried. Scotty Heinen had one. You got Hoft. He had one too.
Yeah.
Just a lot of opportunity. I thought Samuel could have pulled the trigger from deep, having the goalie kind of caught going one way, and he could have maybe slotted one in going the other way. But, at the end of the day, it was a good match. We didn't live up to expectations, but we did okay. Will the brotherhood be the difference? I was actually very impressed with the cohesiveness from a possession-based soccer perspective on how all these guys came together. So I'll give that one an A, because I thought that they really tried to put the ball down on the ground and play. It was just that continuity and understanding the runs in the final third that let the team down. And that'll come with time. And I think that they did a really good job of the possession was probably 80-20, right? Like it was, it wasn't even close. I mean, the build-up play, I don't think Inter strung more than 5 passes together, where City at times was like 7, 8, 9, 10 passes, like moving the position of the field they were kind of trying to attack with. Connor Axos, I thought, was fantastic in his overlapping runs. Like they were playing attractive, fun to watch soccer, just couldn't finish.
Well, John, while Minneapolis City 2 was kicking off here at home, all the way across the prairie, the NPSL team was also gearing up in the cold, rainy cow pasture that was Yankton Park Field, or whatever the heck it was called. Minneapolis City versus Sioux Falls, always an interesting matchup when it's this early in the season, from a weather perspective, from a roster perspective, and this is one that lived up to it, man. Like this was no different. Definitely an interesting way for Minneapolis City to start the season, but nonetheless quite a successful way.
Fun fact about Yankton Park. A young 15-year-old bizworm once traveled to Olympic Development Regional Camp there for a week. And that was the year that DeMarcus Beasley was my teammate on
Bees.
The Beezer was on my ODP team, the regional team that year. Anyways, so I'm familiar with the place. I did not go. So what I'm going to be describing here in a few seconds is secondhand knowledge from the game recap, from someone who was at the game, and from some players and coaches. So was not able to make the trip up there, newsflash, because I was at home calling the game for City 2. So starting lineups were goalkeeper Matt Elder, across the back line, Abdallah Ba, who was a late addition because City captain Aaron Olson was an injury scratch, couldn't make it. So Abdallah Ba slid into the left back spot. What that did was it paired Jonah Garcia with Charlie Adams in the midfield, or in the back line, and then Matt Murakami on the other side. Central defensive midfield wise, Ian Smith made his return to City after we'll call it 2-year break. Max Stewart, Arthur Parents, so the same midfield you saw against Karen, and then Justin Oliver, Will Kidd on the wings, and Mito Yusuf up top. And then your game changers, we're not going to call them subs anymore, Nate. We're going to call them game changers. Game changers were Troy Luegi backing up Elder, Dominic Mezgian, Javier Juarez, Gato, the cat, or just Cat, Lionel Vang, Mark Bokeen, and Miles Stockman-Willis. So, like you mentioned, some interesting things from a playing surface perspective. It didn't take long in the season, considering it was the first game, for the interesting, in quotation mark, things to be thrown at us. The typical location where this game has been played for years on the hot ass turf in Sioux Falls University was substituted for Yankton Soccer Park out in the middle of literally nowhere. Like I said, I've been there. It's in the middle of nowhere, where both teams took to action in the sleety afternoon, early evening, on an uneven grass field. It looked like garbage in the pictures. Everyone who was there said it basically resembled what the team looked at when they said it was comparable to the barnyard at South High School before it was turfed. And that was bad. So the club the club was basically back to its original roots, playing on a shit surface in rainy weather. So shades of the PLA, Nate. That's how we began. So before we even get into the action, that's where we started from. And it's a little disappointing because you look at 4 months of training and you have to throw it all out the window and grind out a win in I believe maybe a purposeful gamesmanship decision by Sioux Falls to try to maybe catch us on some bullshit. But
you think so?
I mean, you never know. I mean, I would do it if it were me. So if they weren't thinking of it, now they look like geniuses. Well, maybe not, but at the beginning of the game, they look like geniuses. So we started things off, interesting, but that's where we started. But what we've seen in the past, especially with low numbers making the trip to Sioux Falls, very much so a trap game. City in the past folds and gets lucky to get out alive with maybe just a point or potentially dropping all three. But not this year, Nate.
Not this city.
Not this city. To credit the players and the staff who, like I said, have been training for at least 4 months on a flat surface, whether it be grass or turf, something that's actually flat and playable. It needs to be noted that they really had to throw the plan out the window and scrap out. And they did so and pulled out a 3-0 clean sheet victory for their first game in 2021 in the North Conference. So this is kind of teeing it up, folks. With the inability to connect on passes that game, it took until about the 15-minute mark for both teams to kind of figure things out, and City specifically to collect themselves, because what they were trying to do, from what I heard, was play possession based, and just wasn't working. Like, balls were fizzing out of bounds because the surface was wet. Guys couldn't connect passes. First touches were heavy. All sorts of all the bullshit that happens when you're just not you're not expecting it. It all happened. But at the 15-minute mark was when Justin Oliver was sprung loose on a little bit of an individual effort, going 1v1, which is what he likes to do, pinning back defenders, going against the Thunder backline, only to produce what must have been kind of a frozen foot attempt shot at goal that kind of lazily went into the waiting arms of our good buddy Lopez in that. So that was really the only action in the first quarter of an hour that was able to actually be reported on. But things from that point on got even sloppier for both sides as the half kind of grew on, where at the half hour mark, a series of missteps from the usually steady central three of Perrins, Stigwart, and Smith saw a giveaway in a bad spot and induced a 2v1 counter. And that took a fantastic effort from defender Matt Murakami to intercept the cross into the box via the diving header. And Elder was kind of frozen, and he was really the saving grace and it could have been 1-0 to the Thunder at that point. So that was the best chance on the day for the Thunder. They had a couple other half chances. Tyler Limmer got in behind Abdallah Ba a few times and really didn't produce anything of substance. But the real excitement of the match came in the 44th minute, just before halftime. The whistle was about to blow when Thunder center midfielder and son of owner of the new ownership in Sioux Falls, Brendan Haggerty, was sent off with a straight red card for a serious studs up challenge on City all-time leading goal scorer Will Kidd. The left Kidd in a heap, and we know Will Kidd, he doesn't go down very easy.
No.
He fights. He was in a heap on the ground, and I saw it on Monday at training. He has 6 stud marks across his thigh, so it was definitely a reckless challenge. Yeah, but he was able to recover, but the Thunder was not. And honestly, Nate, coming from a player's perspective, there's only 2 things that could happen at the end of a half, specifically the first half, that are catastrophic. One is a red card, and the other is giving up a goal right before halftime. And we saw one of those catastrophic things happen. So they go into the break, and just before the second frame, down a man. So with a
and not only that, like down one of the guys that really is a key to their team. He's a veteran player for Sioux Falls. He is one of the more skilled kids on that team, and he's gone.
Mm-hmm. Caught me drinking my drink again.
Sorry.
So anyways, new year, new city with a new lease on life on the situation. Coach Van Benscoten kind of collected the team's thoughts and changed everything tactically. And the Crows came storming into the second half. And shortly after seeing what kind of the Thunder's plans were to account for that loss of Haggerty, in the 54th minute, Coach Van Benscoten brought it on former Augsburg in 2019 MIAC Player of the Year and All-American, Division III All-American Lionel Vang into the fray in an attempt to get more kind of additional one-on-one talent onto the field. Lionel's very good. And he's very shifty, very quick with his feet, and really basically looking at it as a situation where it's like, hey, we're not going to be able to pass through this, so we're going to have guys do individual stuff. So he brought Vang on with, like I said, with an attempt to get more attacking options in on top of the front 3, and it paid off almost immediately as Vang beat a defender and slotted the ball into a streaking Will Kidd, who then found Justin Oliver, finding Mito Youssef streaking back post on a tap in, and the visitors were up finally 1-0. And if you were counting at home, all 4 of the front players for City combined for that first goal. So tactically paid off. So
nice.
like you were saying, last week and into this week, being able to travel with a full roster really allowed MVB to be able to make an actual tactical adjustment instead of just being like, hey, any asshole can play, whoever's here, So as the game grew on, finally seeing the game out, Thunder never really had anything in the second half. Down by a man, substitute Abdallah Ba came off. Miles Sackman-Willis came on, made his return to the club after some time away. Found a bouncing ball, slotted it home. Crows up 3 to the good, and ready to get the fuck out of Dodge, and with maximum points and a clean sheet.
John?
I forgot to mention, in the 67th minute, I totally forgot to capture this. Justin Oliver was making a run onto a 50-50 ball when, like, out of nowhere came like a clumsy defender, not really able in the situation to control his body, and his jaw hit Justin's forehead and sliced it open, sending Justin to the hospital to get stitches, which brought Mark Bokeen on. I totally didn't recap the second goal here.
I was like, wait, where did the second goal come from?
Yeah, sorry about that, folks. It just hasn't been my week. We'll just say that. So Bokeen came on in his first action with the club, and 3 minutes later, it looked like another MVB stroke of genius. Bokeen picked the ball up from a defender about 60 yards away from net and went on an individual mazy run for 60 yards, beating a bevy of players. And then he was able to find Will Kidd on the back post for another tap-in. So that's how the second goal happened. So sorry.
Yep.
Continue.
So
Continue.
goals from Yusuf, goals from Kidd off of a Bokeen individual effort, and Miles Stockman Willis, our old friend,
Yep.
tapping in the
absolutely.
third. What was it that do you know what it was that Coach Matt saw that Sioux Falls, the way that Sioux Falls were adjusting to the loss of Haggerty, that told him it was right to put Vang in to pretty much set our attackers up for more one-on-one situations?
Well, I mean, the Ba for Stockman Willis change, I don't think
I mean like Lionel Vang coming on. I mean, like, why choose Bokeen?
Well, I think that starting off with the Stockman Willis for Ba sub, that was probably honestly like a Ramadan switch from a guy who was not supposed to be in the starting lineup, was supposed to come off the bench, having to start and play like 70 minutes. I think he was just out of gas. But the other substitutes you're talking about Dominic Mesjin made his debut with the club as well, and a few others came off the bench. But specifically the two you're asking, Bokeen for Oliver was a planned sub beforehand. That was kind of in the game script to come on, and Mark's just that game changer. Like, the dude does not give a fuck what situation he's in, who he's facing. He just goes out and does his job. And in that sloppy type of game, you need that guy who in the 60, 70, 80th minute can come on and throws everything that he's been sitting on the bench watching to the wind and is like, all right, let's go score a goal. And that's what he was looking from a game-changing perspective with Bokeen. I think the Vang piece at just shortly after halftime was realistically looking at Arthur Parents is more, he can be more individual and beat guys 1v1, but that's not his strength. Where Lionel can dig in and make turn a defender into a statue with his footwork. And in sloppy conditions, the likelihood of you being able to string 4 or 5 passes together is not happening. But maybe what can happen is someone using that trickery and some individual foot skills to beat a defender in a spot where you can actually create a chance closer to goal. And I think that's why the switch was made.
So sloppy weather, sloppy day. I think it sounds like that first 45 minutes was one that really both teams wanted back for various reasons, right? But a refocused City comes on after the half, and Sioux Falls didn't really have much of a chance from there, down to 10 men. Crappy day with not a ton of answers, right? You and I have talked about it for a few weeks, but one thing on display here was the benefit of City's deep bench. So rather than just like whoever could travel being at his disposal, right? MVB was able to make actual tactical subs on this long road trip, and it paid off. Like you said, Bokeen, a wily replacement for Oliver's speed. Stockman Willis on for Ba. I think specifically on that last sub, it was a necessity based on energy level. But I think it's a particularly dangerous arrow to have in your quiver. Like, both defenders add to the City attack in different ways, and that's something that really sucks for opposing coaches to plan for, I'm sure. Like, when you know that Ba can take those long shots, can cut in and take those long shots, and when you know that Willis is a converted striker, like that's just an extra piece of weaponry that City has that just gets replaced with another weapon.
Yeah, I think what the seedy undertone here of what you're trying to get at as well is that when you look at other teams across our conference, they might only be able to go 13 deep, 14 deep with very strong players and like for like substitutions, where the depth that we have across 3 different program levels of talent, we can have at our disposal situational players that can come off the bench and either make the situation stronger or are literally a like for like sub. And I think that there's not a lot of teams in at our level of soccer who can do that. I think the only ones you throw into the mix across the country that I think can do that at our level are people like the Bavarians and Harpos.
Interesting. Well, all in all, John, I think a hard fought City trip. Sioux Falls is never a cakewalk, but it's nice to start the season with what I would call a convincing W.
Yeah, I would too.
So last week we checked in on some keys to victory. Let's line them up, see how we did. First one, same as the key to victory for the MC2 team.
Yeah, tampering the nerves. I thought we're going to give an A+ for this one because the nerves plus the shitty field situation change, the weather, like all of those are excuse makers. And in the past, we would have made those excuses and been like, well, we tied our first game, considering that literally 2 full seasons ago, throwing out last year, we went into this exact same situation, albeit on a better playing surface, and we came away with a draw, and then we went undefeated after that.
Yep.
But I thought that a lot of excuses could have been made. Guys could have gotten their heads down, gotten taken out of the game because of the situation. They did not. They looked as if, they were trying to figure out ways to make it work on the day with some of those adjustments and some of the messaging that the coaching staff was providing the players. Really did dig in and just grind out a victory on the road. It's not easy to win in Sioux Falls, and I don't think a lot of people really realize that. So number 2, 13 guys no more. I think we just covered that one. Being able to make those tactical subs is huge for not only the team but the coaching staff to be able to look along the bench and go, outside of Troy going up top, we have options here. So actually. 2 years ago, James Nair was our backup goalkeeper, was our only substitute in Sioux Falls, and he literally came on to play striker. So you're seeing, yes, they had the players that went all played and all contributed. So 13 guys no more, A+. Act like reigning champions, another A. I think that you don't come out of that game without that championship mentality to grind it out and to be willing to throw the game plan out and light it on fire, basically, and just forget everything you worked on just to win a game, where in the past we would have probably leaned more towards just trying to figure out how to make our style work. So I think that we definitely, we acted like champions, and whether it was intentional or not, Sioux Falls put up a fight, but they ran into what a top NPSL team looks like in game 1.
Well, John, one win under our belt. Hopefully another one coming right up this weekend. The Crows host. The Crows will come home to roost against the Dakota Fusion.
God damn it, Nate.
See what I did there? And their mega bus. At least I hope the Fusion still have their bus, because I don't know. Times have been tough. Who knows if the bus is still around? It could have been liquidated for assets. But anyway, Dakota gets back on that hopeful bus for the second time in as many weeks, and I don't think this trip is gonna turn out any better than last week's visit of theirs to Joy Athletic. Like, we've been spending a few months wondering, like, what are some of these teams going to look like that used to depend a lot on foreign players and boarding players, and last week answered maybe some of those questions for us around what kind of team they would field. Like, you and I watched that live stream. It looks like this year's Dakota squad made up of a lot of NAIA players, local.
No Belgiuges this year.
This is what I'm saying. Gone is the Golden Boot winner, Jay Johnson, right? And other familiar names from 2018, 2019.
Isaac
the
Kenna.
whole Belgiulgi family gone.
Yep.
For instance, looking at their roster, I think I recognize 3 players from calling the games, and those are Hartrick Tar, Faiz Musa, and Aaron Pike. Otherwise, there's a chance that this team is net new.
Yeah, it pretty much is. I want to mention Pike real quickly. The guy's a very good soccer player. He's super fun to watch. Like, he ended up scoring the only goal in that Joy game, which I believe we're going to talk a little bit about here in a second. But he's their talisman this year. And in the past, it was guys like Jay Johnson, Isaac Kenna, Zuhir Alabasi, who was with us for a number of seasons. But Pike's that next line of the guy that they're kind of leaning on to do something and specifically do something on the road. And I was super impressed with him, and definitely a player that we want to keep an eye on come Friday, come tomorrow, today, whenever you're listening to it.
Yeah. So like you said, he scored that one goal. Dakota fell 4-1 to the expansion Joy Athletic. the glimpse that we got of their attacking potential in Pike was overshadowed by defensive lapses. I'm sure Joy is going to tout their own attacking prowess in this win, but at least 2 of those Joy goals came off of some fairly serious mistakes by Dakota defenders. In both cases, defenders looked like they were following basic like middle school stuff. Like defenders were following the ball, not the player, and they got beat. Like I only see it getting worse against what I would consider a much more dynamic and active front 3 to 4 of Minneapolis City. I mean, that first goal by Whitney Brown, really nice finish, but the center back followed the ball deep into the midfield after Whitney kind of held up play, checked back to his number 10, and the guy fell for it, and Whit just had to make a turn, and he was in alone.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then I think it was the third Joy goal where that Emmanuel Iwe found I guess he was the right back and the center back, like way out of position.
We found like what did he slot? He had a goal and assist, right?
Yeah. So I mean,
I think that the one thing to layer on top of what you're saying, and I echo what you're saying 100%, but all of the Joy goals were coming from the defenders backpedaling on their heels. And Joy offered no defensive high line of pressure. And that's something that City deploys. And I think that you're right. Like with the not only the dynamic movement of the front 3, but their willingness to be active defensively could cause some fits for the backline that we watched on tape.
Yeah, I think so. On the attacking side for Dakota, my spies on the ground say that Dakota had one approach, and that's gather possession in the midfield, dish to the wings, try to get a cross in. Off the ball, they weren't pressing high. They're opting to reset their lines and hope that their midfielders and their defense can do the job and get the ball moving forward again through their same method. And obviously didn't quite work that well against the fledgling Joy Athletic. Hopefully, once again, it will not work against Minneapolis City.
Yeah, I mean, I see some similarities in how Joy wants to play to what we tried to do. I think that they're definitely more comfortable in trying to build as a unit versus going direct. But if we saw, and we've seen anything in the NPSL North, direct soccer wins games in the North.
Yeah.
And we just saw, or didn't see if you weren't there in South Dakota, Minneapolis City just showed that they can find ways to win. And whether it's being direct and figuring out that way, or hopefully what we're going to see on Friday this week is breaking teams down with a possession-based style of soccer, like Joy Athletic did. I think Dakota's going to have their hands full, but you never know. You just never know. I was quoted in the in this week's pregame write-up that was sent out today to season ticket holders and folks on our email list. I said the same thing. Like you from year to year, you just never know with some of these teams on who they're going to bring in. You can speculate, but like you're saying, you recognize 3 names. We recognize 4 from Thunder last week.
Yep.
Like you just never know. And on any given day, that long ball and you're not paying attention, it can bite you. But we do have keys to victory today for the match. I think number 1 is dial it in from the first whistle. Last week is over. This is a new week, new challenge. Everything's new. And like I said, as we know in the North, you can't anticipate anything. So City really has to stick to their plan and don't worry about who you're playing. I think that's going to be a common theme for every week. Like, don't care who you're facing. Go worry about you and figure out ways how you can win and not worry about what everyone else is doing. Number 2 is the introduction of some new faces. Newcomer Mito Youssef had a pretty good debut, as did Mark Bokeen. Mito Youssef had a goal and assist. Mark Bokeen had an assist. But look for some other fresh faces that were unable to make the trip that I think will be added to an already strong 18 game day roster that did the job in Sioux Falls for Coach Ben Scoten. That he'll have some other potential players to throw in the mix, and maybe some players that were playing for City too. So it's going to be hard to game plan from a Dakota perspective, not being able to watch video and seeing the names on the roster sheet that might change based off of who we're playing at the given time. Number 3, will a proper pitch be the difference? We are back at home, folks. So excited. I wish it was tomorrow, right now. We know what to expect from the field. We won't be out on some bullshit cow pasture in the middle of the country. So look for the team to get back in the style of play, like I mentioned, that they want to play. We've been working on it for 4 months. It's super fun to watch. You've seen it in action a little bit going to training. We did our live show there. But
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when it's clicking, it's beautiful to watch. It's exciting to watch, and the goals just pump in. So I'm hoping that the pitch will be the difference.
You'd hope. I wish it were Christmas today, John. I think
or Hanukkah for our Jewish friends.
I think that's the lyric. But that's not the only bit of action this weekend. It looks like, I thought it was Saturday, but then it was earlier Saturday, and now it's not Saturday at all. It's Sunday. Next match for City 2 has a day and time change. Sounds like we're going to be heading back up to the friendly confines of Osseo High, where the club is still undefeated, by the way, to take on FC Minneapolis, 5 p.m. Sunday the 16th. What's up with that?
Just more fucking bullshit, dude. You're going to make me angry. It's just it's just stupid shit. Like, you don't send an email saying that the facility is not available. How many months do you have to plan? Whatever. I'm not going to get into it. But anyways, we're able to have more adversity thrown at us, but we'll figure it out. Anywho, FC Minneapolis has been around the UPSL since its inception in the region, but they were really created out of the mind of founder and current club captain Ian Sendy. But they really have been a well-traveled club from a league perspective. They were founded in 2013. They participated in the MRSL, the Minnesota Recreational Soccer League, much like Inter Minneapolis was before they moved in to the UPSL this year. During the summer of 2014, that's when they were in the MRSL, participated in the now defunct American Premier League that was also founded by owner and current captain Ian Sendy as one of the 2015 and 16 members, and becoming their first ever champion in 2015. So start a league, be a champion.
Yep.
And that was before teams like Duluth FC Fargo, Minnesota Twin Stars entered the fray. So before some of the heavier hitting teams came into the league, they were the champion. After that league folded, they operated as an independent club, playing some exhibition matches locally and across the Midwest. I don't remember who they played across the Midwest, but that was what their website said. Then in the spring of 2018, they joined the UPSL, where now we see them, which is where they played since. If the club sounds familiar, you can hit the Google machine and read all about their interesting attempt to play the Ugandan national team. The story's over on 55.1. It's an interesting read. It involves a former boxing promoter. It's a whole bunch of weirdness. So go ahead and check that one out, folks. It's fun to read. But what we can expect, pretty much a similar thing that we saw with Inter last weekend from a playing style perspective, with more Route 1 direct style soccer. The early going's going to be a lot of fouls probably. So I think it's going to be kind of the common theme, but you never know. Could be different, but I don't anticipate them putting the ball on the deck and stringing together 5, 6, 7 passes and trying to build attack that way. They're going to go Route 1, like I said. They currently sit third in the table with 1 win and 1 draw, 0 losses, with a 1-0 win against Rochester FC. I believe that one was on the road, and then they drew 1-1 against current table toppers, the Brooklyn Knights.
Yeah, John, I remember seeing FC Minneapolis years ago. I think it was an Open Cup tune-up or something. You did a Stegman's fundraiser up at National Sports Center. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I played in it.
It was one of the first Minneapolis. It was like one of the first free beer night. That's what it was. And it was one of the first Minneapolis City games ever, I believe. And FC Minneapolis were just shitty, dude. Like, I think like Inter was big and physical, but I thought they were.
And they could play. Like,
yes, they were sportsmanlike.
They had talent.
FC Minneapolis was just, they just played like garbage. Just rolling around, shit fouls, yelling at the refs constantly. Awful.
Yep. Yep. I have plenty of things I could say, but don't want to make the UPSL unhappy. So, so we're going to go right into the keys of victory, Nate, so that we're not paying more fines because of something I said. Number one, another week of training will definitely help. Unlike their NPSL brothers, City 2 only has part of their core currently in for the summer, as a handful of players are either making their way back in or they had one session this week, maybe two sessions this week before the match, and some are still on delay coming home, and you kind of don't know who's gonna drop down, who's gonna come up from the futures. But that injection of more regulars, some guys that are coming back in are familiar names from the old U23 squad. Some new pieces that we've added that are on caliber with what we had in with that U23 squad. A lot of guys that played college together, so there's some of that continuity coming in already. So it's gonna be a different story, I believe, and it's gonna help. It's absolutely going to help. I think number two, staying with the process, the way that this team kept the ball, like I mentioned, and tried to combine, I think was very impressive. Trying to switch the point of attack, not succumbing to the long ball. Even when they were down, they weren't really trying to just hit long balls into Batule or into Schwartz. They created a ton of chances. So stick with that. Just play good soccer, and the goals will come eventually as the finishing boots get finally tied. It's attractive to watch, and the guys can pull it off, and it shouldn't be thrown out in an effort to chase 3 points on the road. So I think that staying with the process, huge one for them. And then finally, number three, converting on the chances. I don't think this is any news to anyone. I just noted the style of play Coach Prunty prefers the boys to play. It creates those chances both off the wing, through the middle. Like I mentioned, Connor Axos just whipping in crosses, Josh Hope whipping in crosses. Like the opportunities were there. So then you look at the conversion, and I think we converted on 5% of our chances. That's not good.
Whoa.
It's not good enough. So that needs to be increased if this team wants to continue to climb up the table. So I think those three things definitely attainable, and we're looking at potentially our first win for the newly minted UPSL squad within the club.
Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't
it be nice? So again, the boys head up to Osseo, where we're undefeated, to face FC Minneapolis at 5 p.m. Sunday the 16th. So don't show up on Saturday. There will not be soccer, or there will be something else going on that field. So go ahead if you want to go check it out. Maybe some lacrosse or something. So for tickets, head on over to fcminneapolis.com. $10. I believe they'll probably they won't be throwing caution to the wind like Minneapolis City is doing, and they'll probably take your cash at the door. So you get it ahead of time, or probably pay $10 at the door.
Probably. Hope to see you there. Should be great. It's always interesting to watch FC Minneapolis, and it's going to be great to see some of our young talent again. And Osceo's not that far, so that's great. That is all for this week's show, folks. Thank you to the new show sponsor, footballstadiumprints.com. If you are like us, you have to have that special gear when you're out and about on the town. You know, the stuff that people are gonna ask you a little bit about, because it's
the drip.
It's something. Yep, because it is, as the kids say, the drip. You're in luck. Footballstadiumprints.com has that hot shit that for sure is going to get you noticed. And what is better? Minneapolis City fans can head on over to footballstadiumprints.com, check out the new Edor Nelson shirt, print designs, and then use code CROWS10 to save 10% off of your order. That is CROWS10, the number 10, and you can rock the home of the Crows or any other lesser team, I guess, wherever you go or wherever you lay your head. Thanks again to our friends at footballstadiumprints.com. And remember, footballstadiumprints.com may be an overseas company, but know that all U.S. orders ship right here from the U.S., so there is no additional international shipping charges. If giving back to the community means a lot to you, maybe it is time to give to the club that gives back. Minneapolis City is a 501c3 that provides a safe, reliable, and fun environment for young people to play the beautiful game, just like the upcoming summer camps, as well as through the Futures Program Scholarship Fund. Consider a tax-deductible donation to a true city-focused organization. The season is here. Questions are abound. I'm sure that people want to know everything about this team that's about to dominate the NPSL and UPSL. We can answer them. Send us mail. It is easy. Hit us up on Twitter at The People's Pitch, or through email at mcscpodcast@gmail.com. All questions, comments, and concerns are welcome. And finally, as always, you can hit the club up at MPLS City SC. Thanks for joining us this week. That does it for us. I have been Nate. That was John. So much soccer happening around Minneapolis this weekend. Make sure you get your tickets early and make sure you're getting your fix as the NPSL North champion Crows return to the Nelly. Be there or
you got hope.
Oh no!